The manga. Manga? I'm just gonna say manga, and correct me if I'm wrong, please. The manga. RWBY has a couple of special books already, but the real talking point among the fans is the Shonen Jump retelling of the story. A lot of fans talk about a reboot for the series, and this is basically it. Now, with more experience and a better understanding of the plot and characters, going back to touch up some of those shaky early volumes. Everyone says it's great, it's better than the show, it's the definitive way to enjoy the story, and so I read it, and, it was good, Maybe everyone else just overhyped it, or maybe it's because I already really enjoyed the first volume, but it really didn't feel like the greatest thing ever, like how I was expecting it to be. But it is really good. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. However, there was one thing on my mind that I noticed. Since I was expecting it to be better than the show, I was comparing the scenes to the same scenes in the animated version. And some parts I felt were done a lot better, but some parts I thought the show had done better. So I wanted to take a closer look at each chapter of the manga and compare it side by side with the show. Let's dive right in. The manga versus the show, Chapter 1. We start with a robbery by notorious criminal Roman Torchwick. However, he's quickly stopped by the spunky young protagonist, RWBY. As he attempts to escape, RWBY gives chase, and then he tries to return attack, only for RWBY to be guarded by Glinda Goodwitch. After getting accepted into Beacon and jumping 2 grade levels and into the same grade as her loving, perky sister Yang, the two land at Beacon, and after Yang ditches her sister, RWBY quite literally bumps into Weiss. And as the two cause a scene, Blake appears, and her words send the 3 off in different directions. After the kids get a brief speech from Osmond, the girls all find themselves together again before bed. RWBY's encounter with Torchwick was just as fun as the show. They did a great job showing off her speed and acrobatics, even with a comic-style format. Combat can be hard without having the use of full animation, but they did great here. I like that RWBY's a lot more vocal during the fight too. I get the feeling RWBY was originally supposed to be more shy, but as the series went on, she really became more eccentric than her demeanor was in those first couple of episodes. It's little things like this that makes the idea of the manga seem so appealing. And the dialogue in this manga is definitely a huge positive in my opinion. Since we don't see Torchwick or RWBY go on top of the building before his escape, it feels like his airship was just parked in the street next to them. If I have any big criticisms about the art of this manga, because look at it, it's beautiful, is their backgrounds can sometimes leave a lot to be desired. But that's an issue I'll discuss in a later video, when it feels like it's more of a problem. I'm bummed we don't get to see a glimpse of Cinder during the fight. She was really intriguing here, and her bullet blocking thing was a good setup for RWBY being able to recognize her, and showed the audience how she can do that because of her maiden powers. I love the fact that the airship taking them to Beacon looks like a whale. It's a really cute touch. I love the change in dialogue here. For this scene with Yang and RWBY, I could recommend the manga just for you to be able to read the change in their character conversations. I prefer how Yang explains that Torchwick is a well-known criminal, rather than have Lisa Lavender's newsfeed. I like the idea that they already know about criminals in the vicinity, since they want to help stop them. It does bring up the question as to why RWBY insisted on calling him Mr. Criminal. However, without Lisa's newsfeed, it means we're not going to learn about the White Fang for quite a while either. The White Fang play a major role in those early volumes of RWBY, so it's a bit of a bummer it takes so long to get them established. I don't know why they bothered moving the scene with Oz and Glinda talking to RWBY to the middle of this airship scene. Rearranging it doesn't really help the pace or anything, and it makes Glinda's appearance during the encounter with Torchwick seem confusing. She just shows up, RWBY's amazed, and then we cut away to Yang suddenly. I enjoy the fact that they can have a lot more fun with the visuals due to being a different medium. This part where Glinda scolds RWBY and she gets these little devil horns is a good example of being able to have a lot of freedom with the visual gags. Since the show uses 3D models, it means it can't ever get off-model. No janky-ass weirdo faces and proportions, but the downside is it means that they can't really play around with stretching and squashing their characters for comedy. It's kind of a minor thing, but I prefer how Yang ditches RWBY in the manga. In the show, she implies she has a ton of friends, but then we never see them get mentioned again. Having Yang jettison herself from RWBY in an attempt to force her to make friends feels much more natural for the characters anyways. RWBY and Weiss's fight is a lot stronger here. I like it that they actually argued with each other. Setting up their disdain now will make their shift into friendship feel stronger. This also highlights how obnoxious Weiss used to be. She's putting on all these airs of importance about herself, again, making her shift into a more humble person later feel stronger. I feel like that there's clearly much more disdain from Blake towards Weiss also. Blake is hot off the heels of the White Fang and probably resents the Schnee family a lot. This whole interaction just feels much more powerful due to their more heated words. It's also a nice little touch that Blake keeps using her semblance to walk circles around Weiss and RWBY to confuse them while she's badgering them. I wish Blake would use her semblance more casually in the show too. Well, 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 look at this background character breaking his way into the spotlight. I can already hear the Jean fans furiously typing out how he's not a background character, and they're right, But after this one page, Jean disappears. He's not even standing near Ruby during Ozpin's speech. And just you wait, this is hardly the worst of the Juniper abuse we'll see. I like Ozpin's more positive speech compared to his "the future will suck for you kids and you're all just wasted potential right now" speech from the show. Oz is a relatively chipper guy, and his moody, broody opening to the freshman class felt kind of off-putting. Honestly, you're like cats and dogs. I like that it's Yang who tries to calm everyone down. In the show, she gets pissed at Weiss, but Weiss has been acting like a bitch only to RWBY this whole time, so it makes more sense for RWBY to be the one to start arguing with her. On top of that, it matches her personality to try to defuse the situation. Yang is upbeat and motherly, and it fits right into her character to attempt to keep the mood lighthearted. I also like that she smooths things over by giving compliments. In the show, she attempts to befriend Blake by complimenting her, so I feel like it fits really well with her character.
I like your bow. Thanks. It goes great with your pajamas.
Wow, like a real princess. Adorbs. RWBY telling the girls her desires to be a hero was a nice touch. I like that the girls got to hear her motivations instead of just Blake and Yang. So then later when Weiss meets up with RWBY in the forest, she'll already know what motivations RWBY has. And that leads to the two understanding each other a little bit better. And that was chapter 1. Interesting that the manga ends chapter 1 where the show ends episode 2. This is the longest chapter the manga has, being a whopping 48 pages. It's a good place to leave them off too. The 4 girls are finally all together for the first time. Overall, both versions are really solid. They establish the world, some lore, and most importantly, our characters. Yang is bubbly and motherly, Blake is cold and distant, Weiss is egotistical and bratty. The biggest difference is RWBY. In the show, she's shown to be energetic and a bit shy, but here she's less shy and more noble. Multiple times she talks about the honor or responsibility of being a huntsman. I like this decision a bit better, as it feels like it fits her personality in the later volumes a lot more. Well, I guess I should say RWBY's the second biggest difference. Jean's absence is very noticeable and confusing. Jean in the show is RWBY's first friend ever, the first person other than Yang she gets along with. Their friendship is a big part of the show, so him being gone from the beginning of the series is baffling. This is a much larger problem later on, but we'll get there. Hands down, the manga improves the dialogue in every scene so far. Comic format in general is much more dialogue heavy than other forms of media, and so they really elevate their dialogue and their own characters at the same time. But honestly, both versions are still good, but if you're craving some stronger dialogue from our main girls, then the manga is the one I would go with. But this is only the beginning. RWBY's a big show with lots to look forward to. Let's see if the manga can keep up my high praise as we progress into the Emerald Forest. Alrighty, I hope you liked that video. This is gonna be a fun new little series I'm gonna do, and I'm enjoying it, so I hope you enjoy it too. Let me know in the comments, have you read the manga yet? Did you read any of the other mangas, not the Shonen Jump one? Did you read that coffee book? I want to, because I love coffee. Yeah, do you agree? Do you disagree? I know I talked up the dialogue a lot, which was my favorite part. Was there a thing you liked that was different? Like, art style, change, or anything else? Let me know. Your thoughts and opinions, I want to hear them all. Good, bad, different. Leave them in the comments below. And if you want to do me a favor, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.